All right, we got the groovy tunes going. Love the groovy tunes. Everyone knows me. I love a groovy tune. Give me a chance, and I will groove with you. A little more metal person. How is everyone? It's week 5. I'm Bob Harris, senior editor of footballdiehards.com. You might hear me on the SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, sometimes on the SiriusXM NFL Radio, and all the time, well, not all the time, but a lot of times here on the Football Diehards YouTube channel every Wednesday and Saturday. You hear me. Not all we do here. Got the DFS lineup show every Saturday night at 9 p.m. I'm going to have one of the hosts of that, co-hosts of that, Eric Romoff, will be joining me at Fantasy Nav. Be jumping on here at some point to help me with these proceedings. And we'll get hello, everybody. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Dame. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Charles. Hi, Pat. Glad everyone could make it. And we'll be jumping into your questions here in a minute. Just want to set the table, give people a chance to chime in and get here and get their seat, settle in. Ivan needs help. Like, so bad, he's telling me in all capitals. I'm going to tell you something, people, right now. All right. That was a little more serious than I need to be. Ask me the questions like this. Do me a favor. Like, it's early in the week, right? Like, I know what the matchups is. I can find the matchups. I know what's going on. Player name. Give me a first name if you can. First initial at least would be helpful. Give me the team they're playing against. That would be helpful. If you're running off a stream of defenses, who they're playing against would be helpful. All those things would be helpful. If I don't answer your question, go back and read your question. And if you didn't format it the way I requested, that might be why I didn't answer it. I'm not saying I'm not going to answer questions. I'm just saying if I'm getting in a rush or there's a lot of questions, that might be an issue. So Ivan needs it now because the owner has him under pressure. We'll get into this for just one moment. Need help, Jamar and Mike Williams or JT? See, Ivan, you need to frame that question in a way that I'm thinking, okay, Jamar Chase and Mike Williams or Jonathan Taylor. I don't know. Help me out a little bit. All right. So anyway, let's set the table a little bit. There are some issues in case some people are just waking up, getting into the week and haven't been following along at home, aren't ready for the good times. Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts are playing on Thursday Night Football. There are issues. By that, I mean Jonathan Taylor, who I believe Ivan is referring to as the JT. He's not playing this week, Ivan, so don't play him. If you're trading for him, it might be a good move. If the owner's disturbed by the slow start and the now injured Jonathan Taylor, yes, make that move. Javonte Williams also out. Javonte Williams out for the season. Jonathan Taylor out this week. Cordero Patterson will miss an extended period, at least 4 weeks with knee injury. So Tyler Algier and Caleb Huntley probably on your waiver wire search list. The Detroit Lions, everyone sat down today. Don't know that means they're going to sit down this weekend. Turns out Jared Goff can cobble things together with nobody at all on board. So good for him. But Amon-Ra St. Brown did not practice today. DeAndre Swift did not practice today. DJ Chark did not practice today. TJ Hawkinson did not practice. Josh Reynolds did not practice. So expect some of those guys back. Treylon Burks will miss a period of time as well. Injured his toe last week, not that anyone's dying to play them. The best receiver in Tennessee is Derrick Henry. Everyone knows it. That 25% target share is joyous, right? Look at Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a guy that we're all looking at, right? Derrick Henry is a player who should give you hope. If you've invested in a player early, like there's a lot of first-round picks. I mean, there's like one first-round pick that seems like he's returning value regularly, Cooper Kupp. Beyond that, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, I think it's been okay. And by the way, everyone who said, I'm never drafting Christian McCaffrey again, here's why you draft Christian McCaffrey. Because sometimes Jonathan Taylor's the guy who gets hurt, right? Anyone can get hurt. Now, I've made this point. I've belabored it all summer long. I hope it's sinking in. Injury agnosticity, people. You've got to adjust, adapt, overcome, have players ready, build quality depth, work the waiver wire. All those things are what happens in fantasy football when your top guy goes down, or when he doesn't perform, as like almost every first-round pick is not performing well, right? So, aside from Cooper Kupp. Look, and I get it. Justin Jefferson's been great a couple games. He's not. Jamar Chase, slow start, right? It's been a bit of a struggle. So, T. Higgins is the guy. So, I mean, adapt, adjust, overcome. We'll talk about all that. If you have questions about that, I'll answer them. Daniel Jones looks like he'll probably play. Mac Jones maybe get a little better. Dak Prescott, he's not playing, everybody. Not going to play. Not going to play this week. Tua's not going to play this week either. Kenny Pickett, he's going to play. Should we be pivoting to George Pickens at this point? Got 30% of the targets when Kenny Pickett came in the game. Deontay Johnson, he got like 15. Oh, my God. All right. I'll get your questions. I know you're dying to have your questions answered. I appreciate everyone coming. Hit the subscribe button. It's down there if you aren't already subscribed, so you get notifications for this thing when I'm going live all the time. Again, every Wednesday and every Saturday. I know I keep threatening this is going to evolve in Wednesday nights, and it is. Relax, wait. It's going to be fun. Saturdays, we're going to do the usual live stream, ask me anything, line up questions, and that's what we're doing right now. Again, Eric Romoff will be joining me later. Hit the like button if you like what you're hearing. You can dislike me too. I'm okay with that. Go ahead. I'm going to dislike myself just so somebody dislikes me. Bastard. I hate me. Anyway, so let's get into the questions. There's a lot going on. Week 5. I feel like we're starting to get a little normalcy, whether that's maybe players that we were hoping would come on. I'm looking back at you, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp. I mean, some things we're starting to get some normalization, and maybe some of these guys who we thought would be good but aren't good, maybe that's going to be their condition, right? Matthew Stafford. Maybe some of these players we thought they might be okay, but they're great. Might actually be great. Jared Goff. Who knows? But we're starting to get a little handle. All right, Ivan, let me sort through your question. Ivan needs, so there's only one JT. This is true. I was being a smart ass, wasn't I? You're on to me. So I guess, Jamar and Mike Williams or JT. Well, not JT. So Jamar and Mike Williams is the answer to your question. Hi, Brian Smallhorn. Ring chasing. Russ, Jamal Williams, Barkley, Evans, Sutton. I'm guessing that's Mike Evans, C. Samuels, Darren Waller, Njoku. Should I look to trade or thoughts? Here's the thing about trading and trade questions. I mean, what you need to do, and I'm going to channel my inner Mike Dempsey if you have listened to the Football Diehards on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, or caught some of the video content on the Football Diehards University, Fantasy Football University. Mike Dempsey, a very adept trader, and he'll tell you what you need to do. So you look for your strength. Where are you strong? Well, pretty strong. Got some good running backs, but not really. Your depth seems to be at wide receiver, but I don't know if you got depth beyond those starters, Waller and Njoku. So to look to trade, you need to find your strength, and then you need to go through everyone else's roster and find their weakness and see if your strength matches up with their weakness and make them an offer. So ring chasing, that's the starting point. Beyond that, if you have something more specific, like I want to trade these 2 guys for this one guy, or somebody wants to trade me these 3 guys for these 2 guys, let me know. Beyond that, it's kind of hard for me to dial in. But that's the process, right? Go out, go to your platform, find all your opponents' rosters, compare them with your rosters. What are their strengths? What are your weaknesses? And vice versa. Pluto XXXXXO. Dak Prescott and J.K. Dobbins for Aaron Jones. He needs a quarterback for the rest of the season. Oh, if he really needs that quarterback, maybe just give you Aaron Jones. This doesn't seem like a totally unreasonable deal, although I think J.K. Dobbins might end up giving you running back 2 to maybe low-end running back 1 numbers. I might look for a different piece, right? If he's really desperate for a quarterback for the rest of the season, I would ask him how desperate he is. And by that, I would mean I would offer him something other than J.K. Dobbins to go with Dak Prescott. Like maybe more of a flex level play or even a wide receiver 3 level play, and then move from there. Mr. Scampers, pleasure having you, sir. Kevin Payne, how long do we hold on to any of the mores before deciding less is more? I think we might be there, right? I mean, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis is the Elijah Moore we're all waiting for, right? No, I don't know. I still have some hope for Elijah Moore. DJ Moore, would a quarterback change really help? Well, it might, because I want to say 11 passes batted down at the line of scrimmage for Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's not been good, right? It's not working, right? Christian McCaffrey is a piece that's working. Kudos to Baker for getting the passes to Christian McCaffrey last week as well. So I don't want to totally diss him. That's a lie. I totally want to diss Baker Mayfield. Such a liar. But yeah, so, I mean, look, it's hard to bail on DJ Moore, in general, but I'm looking at other options. I mean, what is he right now? Like in the wide receiver 50 range? There's a lot of guys that have emerged. Do I trust all those guys? No, but as long as they're producing right now, I'm probably going to be more interested in playing them than I am DJ Moore. DJ Moore is still playable, but there are other options I'm looking for. Remy, I'm up. And Adam, it's Wednesday, everybody. It's a new week. The injury report's out. Got a lot of stuff going on. Dame. Half-point PPR, DJ Moore versus San Francisco. I love you, Dame. Melvin Gordon versus Indianapolis. Romeo Doubs versus New York Giants. If you need one of these, I'll go ahead and rank them for you right now. Melvin Dubs, and Moore. That's the order I would take them. Look, that matchup for Carolina isn't good in the best of circumstances, and Baker Mayfield does not give them the best of circumstances. Melvin Gordon is the lead back. I know Latavius Murray is making us all nervous. And maybe he should if Melvin Gordon keeps fumbling. But I think Melvin Gordon gets that first shot. And Indianapolis going to be without Shaquille Leonard again. Some issues up front in the offensive line, guys that are going to play but are maybe a little beat up. So I kind of like that playing off a lot. Look at Romeo Doubs, man. I think they're, between he and Lazard and Christian Watson, I mean, Doubs is looking like he's right in that wide receiver one mix. Help me help you. That's what Scampers is here for, everybody. To let you know how you do it. Help me help you. Brian Smallhorn says, Bob. All in one show. Hollywood for Sanders. Need a running back for my receivers. Need a running back, and my receivers are Jefferson, Hill, and Higgins. I'm tempted to do this. Like, don't expect. I'm almost wondering if somebody offered you this, were they offering you this for like right after the big game last week for Sanders? Like, I think Sanders is a viable play. I'm glad I drafted him. I kind of got off him, dialed back a little bit more than maybe I should have at some point. But there early on, I was drafting him like crazy because I thought he was a great price. And now it looks like he's going to pay off. I don't think this is totally unfair if you're a little concerned. Maybe once DeAndre Hopkins back, I think Hollywood's playing fine football. And Kyler Murray's on pace to throw more passes than any other quarterback ever in the history of football. Seriously. He's on pace for that. Is that crazy? It would be great if he completed more of them. But you've got the receiving depth to do it. I think that's the point that you're making, and you are correct. Andrea. Need one and one flex. Pittman versus Denver. Cortland Sutton versus Indy. Hollywood Brown versus Philly. Damian Pierce versus Jacksonville. PPR. Probably good. Wow, these are great options, right? So maybe dial back a little bit on Pittman for right now until this offense comes together. I don't know what's going to look like without Jonathan Taylor. It wasn't great with Jonathan Taylor. The running game was horrible, but the passing game has not been great because Matt Ryan is turning the ball over like crazy, right? I mean, I just think that's a limiting factor. I just want to look right now and just make sure I'm not going crazy. But I think Pittman, granted he's missed a game, but it has not been high in production. He's like a flex level play, kind of wide receiver 3 with missed game. Yeah, I mean, he's been okay. I just worry about that offense in general. I think these other options are better. I like Cortland Sutton a little better. I like Hollywood Brown a little better. I like Damian Pierce a little better. This week, I'd probably play Pierce. And I'll say Cortland Sutton given the matchups. A lot of injured defenders for the Colts. That's a tough one, Andrea, but that's the way I'm going. Otsky, 10-team standard, pick 2 for flex. Deontay Johnson, Kareem Hunt, Antonio Gibson, or Brandon Cooks. 2 in the flex. I want to remember because it's Cleveland playing a not fortuitous. It's Los Angeles Chargers. Man, they're very, very generous to the running backs. Please doesn't get the full workload. Oi, this is a tough one. Deontay Johnson, a little concerned with the target share he got with Pickett last week, but not so concerned that I'm not going to play him. I could avoid Antonio Gibson, like Brandon Cooks. Going against Jacksonville. I'm going to go ahead and play the 2 receivers, Deontay Johnson and Brandon Cooks, for now. And that's unusual for me. I tend to like to play running backs a lot, but these guys aren't demanding a ton of volume, nor are they. I get it. Kareem Hunt has great upside. Antonio Gibson has some upside. I'm just not keen on the Washington offense right now. Remy needs 1. Melvin Gordon, Khalil Herbert, A.J. Dillon. I'm going to say for right now, I'm probably going to go with Melvin Gordon. I'm going to look at something and just make sure I don't feel silly about this. I am going to go with Melvin Gordon. I think that's a reasonable play there. I mean, I liked Herbert last week. It's okay. I liked A.J. Dillon every week. It's usually okay. And the Giants, it's not like the toughest defense. But Melvin Gordon, I think, is going to be the primary back here. And again, just basing this on him being the primary back, probably getting all, the bulk of the volume. I know Mike Boone's there. I know Latavius Murray. Who knows? Like, if at the end of this game, Latavius Murray is the leading rusher for this team, nobody's going to be terribly shocked because apparently Latavius Murray can just walk in off the damn street and do all kinds of good things. Ask Mark Ingram in London. So, and we'll see what David Montgomery, he's not practicing, so I don't think he'll be back. So all 3 viable plays. Pedro Resto, Just picked up Logan Thomas. Pitts is killing me. Thoughts on getting bold? Seriously thinking about playing Thomas over Pitts? I think that's fair. Right? I mean, right now, that is entirely fair. Let's talk about Kyle Pitts right now, right? I mean, usage has been great. Right now, he's like, what, tight end 20-ish? 18 on in Football Diehards player performance rankings. Who is playing better than him? Logan Thomas, who is, by the way, coming off an ACL and got off to a slow start. Irv Smith Jr., who doesn't catch all the footballs. Hayden Hurst is ahead of him. Mo Alley Cox, my guy. Fire the dismissal. Will Dissly playing ahead of him. Tyler Conklin. Guys that you could have picked up off the waiver wire at any point. Gerald Everett. I mean, yeah, I could sit Pitts right now and wait for it. Here's the thing when we get some of these players where you have other viable options, right? Not everyone you have viable options for, but some players you do. And I think for Pitt's case at tight end, you do have viable options that you could have picked up or might still be available on your waiver wire, right? Tyler Higbee, if you drafted him late. I mean, a lot of players were getting both the volume and doing a little something with it. So here's what you do with Pitts. You just wait, right? You wait. If you're going to miss out, you cannot have the FOMO. And I think we keep playing a lot of players. A lot of players keep killing us, in all caps, because we keep playing them because of the investment, the sunk cost, and the fear of missing out on the big game. Like, okay, I've played him every week, and if I take him out, I'm going to miss out on the big game, and all the times I played him will be for naught. No, all those times are for naught anyway. And if you miss out on the big game, great. You at least have something to hang your hopes on going forward. In the meantime, play a currently productive player. This is not rocket surgery, people. Jared Brugler, D. Pierce for D. Smith and M. Thomas. Is this a trade? I would want to be on the receiver side of that equation. I would like two viable plays. I get it. Thomas is not healthy right now. Maybe we're selling Pierce, a little high. Coming off a couple big games, coming off a couple good games. Look, I think Pierce is going to be a solid running back 2 over the course of the season. Maybe with some weeks where he's running back 1. He's not playing the Chargers every week, people. Apparently the Chargers don't stop anybody. I mean, we've got double-digit running backs, multiple double-digit running backs against Jacksonville, but every damn week we've got double-digit running backs, and Joey Bosa out now. I don't know if that's going to help him either. So anyway, yeah, look, I think this is a fair deal depending on what side you're on. I wouldn't mind having 2 Smith-Thomas level wide receivers if I'm hurting a wide receiver. Scampas. Half-point PPR. Devin Singletary versus Pitt. Curtis Samuel versus Tennessee. Or Thielen versus Chicago, but the Dotson injury could at least like Curtis Samuel's not getting enough opportunities for you, Scampers. You're so discerning. You're so picky. You're like my cats. I only want certain things. If we look at the current numbers, who are the receivers better than Curtis Samuel right now, scoring more fantasy points than Curtis Samuel? Jamar Chase is. Deebo Samuel is. Christian Kirk, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Marquise Brown, Jalen Waddle, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp. That is all. Who isn't scoring as many points as Curtis Samuel? Cortland Sutton, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, Chris Olave, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Michael Thomas. I mean, you get my point. So I guess, we think he's like an ancillary piece. He is a primary piece. They're scheming him up. I'm playing him. I'm looking for ways to get Samuel into my lineup. Like, granted, I'd feel better if I was doing it as a flex and I was starting regular receivers. But there's a reason Samuel is in Washington. And by the way, that Tennessee defense is not scaring anybody. Nobody's. So I'm with you. I do like the matchups as well for Thielen. But I'm leaning to Samuel in this one. It's been pretty steady, Scampers. Singletary, though, that backfield belongs to him right now. It's a 2-game in a row sample we have where he's gotten the bulk of the snaps, the bulk of the targets, the bulk of the carries. I mean, he's getting everything, the goal line work, the 2-minute offense work, all those things. So that's kind of where I'm at there. I feel like I'm a total Curtis Samuel stan, and I like it. Feels good. No, it doesn't. It just is, right? And so, again, if you don't tune in often or you're just tuning in the first time, the Curtis Samuel thing. Here's why I like him, man. The Commanders went out and invested a fair amount of money in him, and they did it for a reason because they knew him. The coaching staff knew him from their time in Carolina, and he was very productive there. And they've created a role where he does a lot of nice things there. He's kind of a wide back, junior role where they're scheming up ways to get the ball in his hands, whether it's with carries or receptions. So I like it. And Dotson being out doesn't hurt. Naheem Hines or Ezekiel Elliott. Ferdinand Gross wants to know. Oh, I think I don't want to get too far ahead of the Naheem Hines deal, but I'll go ahead and, Denver's a tough defense. I'm not sure that this Colts offense is fully functional. I hope it gets that way. I hope they figure out some of the offensive line issues, and maybe they use him differently than they've been using. Obviously, they will. Philip Lindsay sounds like will be in the mix. He has not been elevated to the active roster yet, so watch out for that, but expect that. Deion Jackson's also there. But I think Hines is the front line thing. And if you're sick of what Elliott's given you, I mean, this is understandable. Before you panic though on this, just Elliott's maybe a low end running back too right now, right? It's low end, definitely low end. So I'm with you. If you want to shake things up a little bit, I'm not against this. The opportunity knock yourself out. I don't mean that in a dismissive way. I mean, you've kind of talked me into this one, Ferdinand. Would I play Garrett Wilson over Pickens? Probably would. But I'm looking for ways to. I probably would play Garrett Wilson over Pickens, but I'm trying to look for ways. I was setting some lineups earlier today. I'm looking for ways to get Pickens in. I mean, I'm throwing out some guys that are obviously projected higher on the chance that Pickens and Pickett have a connection. Also, just a reporter I trust, Will Graves from the Associated Press. I thought something he said caught my eye, which is basically this is the Pickens we saw in training camp. He's starting to emerge, right? And you heard all the glowing reviews in training camp of the great plays George Pickens was making, and he looks like he's starting to make them on the field to play, and that's great. So yeah, I would probably play Wilson over Pickens. I would definitely play Pickens over Wilson, but I'm trying to get Pickens in lineups. Dwayne Swanger wants to know, is Kenny Pickett worth stashing? Yes, he's worth stashing. I don't want to get over it. Like in regular 12 team, one quarterback league. I mean, I don't. Yes, he's worth stashing. I don't know if he'll ever play him. I was encouraged, not afraid to sling it. Right, I like that. But I don't know that I'm going to end up wanting to play him very often. Scott Kobe out there dominating the high stakes arena, ladies and gentlemen, winning them all. Okay, not all of them, but like almost all of them. Gerald Everett versus Cleveland or David Njoku versus Chargers. I'm a David Njoku guy, and even then, I'm more a Gerald Everett guy. Gerald Everett for me, everybody. I'm Bob Harris. If you're just tuning in, you don't know, that's who I am. I work at footballdiehards.com. It's a website. You can go there. We have information, tools, articles, videos. We have a YouTube channel. We have a lot of stuff there. Go check it out if you want to subscribe and get all the insider info and the tools we have available. Use the promo code Diehards to get 15% off the current price. So do that. Robert Barrick. Someone cut Kenneth Walker in my 0.5 PPR 12 team. Is it worth picking him up? And if so, how much fab would I spend? I have 95 left out of my 100. My running backs are CMC, Aaron Jones, Khalil Herbert. And yeah, I think he would be some nice depth to have. I'm going to say this about the Seattle backfield, though. Rashad Penny came on. I get it. It was against Detroit. They're horrible. But he got the workload, right? Got the 17 carries. Really looked nice, right? Looked good. Huge production against Detroit. I'm not going to expect that, kind of production every week. But he did it last year, that kind of production every week. So, right. So, I mean, I think, to be clear, I think Penny is going to hold on to this job until, Pete Carroll is that way, right? He did it with Chris Carson when they brought in Rashad Penny. He stuck with Chris Carson until somebody shoved him off that hill, and it was injury that shoved him off that hill. And that could totally happen with Rashad Penny. I know a lot of people feel like he's injury prone, like they think, I don't know, Christian McCaffrey's injury prone, like they think, I don't know, Jonathan Taylor. Oh, no, Jonathan Taylor's not injury prone, but he's hurt. He's not playing this week, is he? So anyway, yes, so I would pick him up. I wouldn't go overboard. Maybe $10 to $15 would be my price. Trade Jefferson for Evans, Higgins, and Eli Mitchell. Sure, that seems reasonable, right? You're getting two starting wide receivers, two level wide receiver, one level wide receivers, and a little Eli Mitchell bonus in case he comes back or when he comes back. So it's funny. I was talking to Mike Dempsey earlier today, Mr. Scampers, and we were talking about Najee. And I, honestly, I don't really have FOMO, man. I don't know if he's ever going to have a breakout game. I think he's defining himself. Huge volume. At some point, he is going to break out. I'm sorry. I don't mean to diminish what he can do, but, just get some touchdowns at least. But honestly, we'll see if maybe this offense changes materially with Kenny Pickett hurling it down the field. Possible. But I'm with you. It's hard. I think at this point when you made that investment in a player, it's hard to let go. I think for me, it's easier early in the season because they're not what they're going to be, right? You have to realize. I use a prime example. I think it's 2 years ago. Tom Brady for half the season couldn't complete a deep ball, right? We were all, oh my God, he's lost it. He can't play football anymore. By the end of the season, he was the best deep ball passer in football. Because things change. What is today is not tomorrow. It's not next week. What is next week is not 2 weeks after. So got to keep on top of the trends. And Najee will be just fine, I think, over the course of time. But if some guys have risen up, Rashad Penny, Jamal Williams, if they're guys that have risen up or circumstances put them in fortuitous spots, or maybe you spent later on Saquon Barkley, you bought Saquon Barkley before the rush began. And you're not sitting him. You're playing him over Najee. So I think there's players you can play. That's probably not a good example because the production is so high, but you get the point. You've kind of, you've got to at some point get over that fear of, man, I'm going to miss out on the thing I invested in. Well, at this point, he's not the thing you invested. He's not what you invested him to be. And so waiting for that to happen. Just to let you know, if you're down on Jonathan Taylor, you can still get good value on him. I got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Breece Hall in one trade and Breece Hall and Chris Godwin in another deal. Right. And I think people are, if you didn't hear me earlier, if you just tuned in, Jonathan Taylor, he's hurt. He's not going to play this week, right? This is unusual for him. He's usually he's only missed 2 practices dating back to high school. I've talked to him about this. Yes, I'm name dropping. And he takes a lot of pride in his availability, as one of his great abilities. And he's not wrong. But, if somebody is down on him or you're down on him, I get that. And if you can get something in return, he was 15 points ahead of his point total heading into last week's game. That's what you might have missed earlier. So, it's not like he wasn't doing his usual things. He's been a guy that's kind of trended up and come on harder as the season wears on. And like last year, the usage down the stretch was super amazing. So it might well be. So I agree with you, Scott Covey. Mr. Scampers, we all want more Curtis Samuel. We all want it. Jared Brugler, drop 1. Isaiah McKenzie, Darnell Mooney, Cam Akers, Madison, Dotson. If you have Cook, I'd probably hang on to Madison. I'd probably drop Dotson right now. That you can make arguments for almost any of these. Isaiah McKenzie, I think, will be back, and he's going to be a piece of a very explosive offense. So maybe not him, but and Mooney. Maybe at some point they quit running a high school offense there in Chicago, and they start throwing the ball down the field. It looked like they were trying to last week. It was not as horrible as it has been, right? Steve Linder, would you trade Kelsey for Evans and Gallup? Yes. I have Schultz as my backup tight end, but really hurting a wide receiver. Sure. I think that's that's pretty good return, right? That's what you would expect for one of the best players at his position. Another one of the best players at their position, and a guy that has a chance to be a really good player. Fair. All right, Robert, I missed your answer earlier. 12-team, half-point PPR. Who to start, Russell Wilson or Jared Goff? 3-1 in first place. I'm pretty much starting Jared Goff until he makes me stop at the moment. I don't want to go crazy on this, and I'm not against Indianapolis's defense is kind of beat up and battered. Man, I'm having a hard time finding a good reason to stick off. Like, he was down how many of his weapons last week? Granted, it was a great matchup, right? I'm not lying. He's going against New England. It's a way tougher matchup this week. It's a little closer this week, but maybe watch. Well, you can't watch. You got to decide now. Oy. That's a little tougher. I'd like to going up against the Patriots. I'd like to see him have all his pieces back, have all his bits together, right? I'd like to see him. I wouldn't want to see him have to go without Amon-Ra St. Brown in particular. He might have to go without Swift, but I think that's kind of fine. And we saw T.J. Hawkins step up and get the job done. He was fantastic. We saw Josh Reynolds step up and had a past relationship, their time together with the Rams. As Reynolds said, we're looking pretty Ramsey. So I might go Wilson this week, just given the matchups. But, man, I don't want to stick off really bad. Again, the Lions, the top-scoring offense in the NFL right now. Scott Covey, do you think this Corey Davis thing is for real? Yes. And yes. Also, yes. He is for real. Like, he was kind of for real last year. Injury kind of slowed him, but Zach Wilson seems to have an eye for him, among other things, apparently. Allegedly. I don't know. So, yeah, I think Corey Davis will be fine. I think he is a real thing. Keep the expectations in check. He's one of those pieces that you drafted super late. I was drafting him way into double-digit rounds for this reason, right? Like the past, what we saw him with Zach Wilson. I mean, there's a little bit of a connection there. So, yes. Steve, PPR need 2 out of these 3. Mostert, Dameon Pierce, Naheem Hines, and Penny. So I'm probably playing Penny and Pierce of these 4. Those 2. I don't know if Michael Thomas is playing. He didn't practice today, Andrea, so that's a concern right off the get-go, right? And I don't know if who the quarterback's going to be. Although Andy Dalton was pretty serviceable last week, so maybe that doesn't matter. But I'd probably play Pittman in this one and hope for the best. Because I think Pittman's probably, just as good a play even at his worst. Or not his worst, but even given the current circumstances, which are kind of the worst. Pedro, will we see last year's Jonathan Taylor this year? I have a funny feeling Taylor might be ready for a trade in my league. What scenario would be the best for a successful trade? Low-end running back 1, low-end wide. Well, go to the Taylor investor there, the manager with Taylor on their roster in your league, and see what their needs are. Find out where their team is weak and make them an offer they cannot refuse. Maybe throw in a little sweetener on the side, kind of some pieces that you're not using that might be appealing. But yeah, I said this, a few minutes ago. I mean, he was ahead of last year's pace, right? The last 2 years, it's been kind of a slow burn early on. He's been slow to start and gone gangbusters down the stretch. I don't know that that's going to be the case this year, but there's some history that that's how it's worked in the last year. So I'm not against it. It's been ugly, though. I mean, honestly, the rushing attack, this whole offense has been ugly. I think we expected more from the offensive line, and we're not getting it. Maybe we will get it. Maybe it'll start to coalesce. I think we're seeing some things start to coalesce. To be clear, Indy's offense is not one of those things right now, right? But could it be? Yes, I think so. Herbert or Dubs this week at flex. I think I'm going to wait this one out a little bit and see if there is no Montgomery. If there's no Montgomery, I might go Herbert there. I like Dubs against the Giants. I'm not going to lie. But we'll probably go Herbert. We'll play a true feature back over most receivers most weeks. Jerry Jeudy or Singletary at the flex, going against Indy. Singletary is going against, it's right on the tip of my tongue, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh not playing great defense without TJ Watt, are they? Yeah, so this one's really close, Philip. I'll be honest with you. I might just want a piece of the better offense and might go Singletary there. I think Judy's fine, but I might go Singletary. CEH or Fournette? That's tough, right? CEH is playing great against Vegas. They're not going great gangbusters, right? On defense, anyway. Buccaneers going against Atlanta. Buccaneers against Atlanta. I'm going Fournette. That made it easy. I'll play Leonard Fournette in this one. Look, CEH has been great. Fournette's getting the volume. I think this offense will be, fine. Last week was a little bit of an outlier because they fell behind right away, right? So yeah. Look, I'm not against CEH. If you want to play CEH, that's fine. I'm going Fournette. I don't think there's a totally wrong answer here, but I'm going Fournette. Just following the logic, following the workload, things like that. CEH has been getting a lot up until this past week. A lot of CEH was based on the touchdowns, right? He wasn't getting a ton of workload. So last week he got more workload. I liked it. But Fournette's been on the field like 80%. The week before it was like 90%. Last week they pulled him off a little bit. Nobody was carrying the ball. They were just running the football, throwing the football. So yes, I'm playing Fournette. By golly, Area F or Uriah F. Tank. Currently have Elijah Moore, who hasn't done much in 4 weeks. He has not. Would you drop him for McKenzie now that Crowder has a broken ankle and is out? No more sharing the slot? Well, Khalil Shakir would like to have a word with you, sir. We'll see. I don't know if Khalil Shakir is going to be anything, this year. I think down the stretch. I would like a piece of this offense, and probably that's not, I don't think Elijah Moore has seen, I think there's some value coming from him. But honestly, he's one of 3 guys, and Garrett Wilson seems to have changed that dynamic there for sure. And Tyler Conklin. Don't overlook Tyler Conklin. Did I mention he's like a top 10 tight end? I think I did. I don't think that's totally unreasonable. This week, remember though, McKenzie has a concussion, did not practice today, not sure he's going to play. What if he doesn't play and Khalil Shakir comes in and just is goes off the hook. I don't know. But yes, I think, it's a good point, Tank. And yes, I would probably do this move. Amari Cooper, Kareem Hunt, and Njoku for Freiermuth and Drake London. Fair trade. I think it's giving up too much. Or you're not getting enough if you're on the Cooper side. I don't like the 3 for 2. I don't like the 3 side of that deal. At what point do we pick up Odell? Look, man, pick him up any damn time, right, Smitty? I mean, this is the thing about the waiver wire. If you have room on your roster, I'm an advocate of playing ahead. That means I got an eye on Jameson Williams in Detroit. That means I got to have had an eye on Brian Robinson in Washington. I mean, these are all viable kind of players if you have room. If you have room. My plan is this. I should have followed this up and seen what the plan was. I just picked up Dak, and my starter is right now is Stafford. I think I'm going to drop Stafford for this week to pick up Wentz, and then next week pick up Odell. I'm fine with that. Forward thinking, Smitty. That's how you do it, man. Well done. Scotty Boy. Pick 2, a half-point PPR. Amari Cooper. Christian Kirk. James Conner, I bet you. Or Penny. I think John Connor is like in the Terminator or something. Or Penny. Pick 2. I'm probably going to play. Why would you do that to me? You know I'm a James Conner stan. Probably going to play. I want to play Kirk because I think he normalized a little bit. They're going against Houston. He'll play more in the slot. I'm assuming Zay Jones is back. Last week he was not in the slot a lot. And look who succeeded. Jamal Agnew. Where was he playing in the slot? Who knew? It's a good role to have. I think Kirk's fine, playing some outside, but would prefer him in the slot, especially if Zay Jones is back. So I'm probably going in that direction in this case as one of them, and I'm probably going Penny over James Conner. I hate that. I think Conner's going to be fine. He's just not fine right now. Check the matchups. Oh, it's the Saints. Put the matchups in the question in case I'm not thinking about them. Like in this case, I was not. Philadelphia's not an easy matchup either. I'm probably still going that direction, but neither of those guys has great matchups. It's hard to play Cooper right now. I think there are going to be weeks where he's fine, weeks where he's not. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'm Bob Harris from footballdiehards.com. You see me at that website. You should go there and check it out. All kinds of cool stuff. See me here on this YouTube channel every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, every Saturday at noon Eastern Time. You can tune into this channel at 9 p.m. on Saturday nights. Jamie Calandro and Eric Romoff talking DFS, ownership percentages, stacks, lineup builds, all kinds of stuff, taking your questions here. I know Mr. Scampers is there for that. He loves it. And I don't blame him. I'm all about Scampers. And so, yes, you can catch all of us all the time. You can catch me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio Monday night at 10, Thursday night at 10, Friday night at 10, Saturday night on NFL and fantasy channels, 2 channels. I need 2 because I have so much of me. 3 hours, 8 to 11. Sunday morning, you catch me and Mance on the pregame show, 11 to 1. You catch me here right now. And Eric Romoff will be joining in a few minutes from the DFS lineup show, Fantasy Nav, the Pros with Joe's, all kinds of stuff out there. Green screens. We'll get that all sorted out when he jumps on. So anyway, there you go, Scotty Boy. Mr. Scampers, if I can't swing a trade for a top 3 stud, which quarterback would you recommend streaming? Trevor Lawrence versus Houston, Cousins versus Chicago, Brissett versus Chargers. I kind of like him in that order. Trevor Lawrence was so good before last week. It's easy to... he was playing for 2 weeks, played as good as anybody. I think maybe he can regain some of that against Houston. Not against Cousins either, but I'm probably playing Lawrence myself. Let me look at some rankings and see what everyone else thinks here. Cousins, Lawrence. Emo likes Cousins more. I like Lawrence more. I think they're both in the same tier. But those would be the two. Those would be the 2 I'd be focused on. Not so much Brissett. Although I think he's fine. He's a nice man. Robert, I'm a Lions fan. Need a defense. Not the Lions defense. Charles Davis, Naheem Hines at Denver, A.J. Dillon versus New York Giants, or D.J. Moore, San Francisco for PPR flex. I'm probably going with Dillon. I think Hines is a viable play. Drake London says Scott Kobe's on my waivers in a short bench league. How much waiver wire budget out of 800 do you bid? what I would bid on like a weekly wide receiver 3 start. For me, I wouldn't probably go over $50. Maybe, I don't know. You know your league a little bit better, and you know how the players are in these high stakes leagues. I know these guys are very seriously tracked, and they know a lot of them will keep spreadsheets of what your past bids are. So, if you've had a pattern or something, watch that. You know that, Scott. Would you trade Najee for James Robinson at this point? Straight up? I don't know if I do the trade, but if at the end of the season James Robinson is equal or better than Najee, I would not be shocked. Oh, Rashad Penny might have a nick. Let me see what's going on with Rashad Penny. Hey. Because the injury report has just come out. Just to see if it's anything serious. Bear with me, people. Oh, they don't have it up on the site. The Seahawks are behind the schedule. I hate it when the West Coast teams, man, practice earlier. Shoulder, did not practice. I'd watch this one. Maybe just a day, kind of a maintenance kind of situation. So keep an eye on it, though. So, yeah, I'm probably not doing that trade, but, it's not a crazy trade. Just given the level of production we've seen. Look, we know James Robinson, what the role is going to be going forward. Going to be a good week for him this week against Houston. Chuck Bachman is pulling his hair out with Matthew Stafford. Play him or Geno or even Matt Ryan. I'm probably still playing him, but Geno is not the wrong answer. How's that for wavering? Seahawks got it. Yeah, probably. I'm going to stick with Matt Stafford this week. Going against Dallas. That's a tough deal. Those are both tough matchups, right? Hey, by the way, put the matchups in if you can. It helps me go faster. Don't know if I want to play Matt Ryan yet. Steve Linder needing to make room for our IR guys. B. Robinson and Gus Bus. Which one would you drop out of? Gainwell, thanks. Probably Russell Gage. Okay, any updates on Montgomery? He did not practice today. Look at the best adult dating site is in the chat. I've missed you so much, best adult dating site. It's really great to see you here. Jason Wilson, need 3 in a PPR. Chris Olave versus Seattle. Rashad Bateman versus Cincy. Gabe Davis versus Steelers. Dubs versus Giants. Or Pittman versus Broncos. Oh, man. So Bateman is hurt. I don't know that he's going to play, so I think that one's kind of going to be taken care of for you. So we're going to knock him out because these other guys were healthy anyway. Boy, Chris Olave against Seattle. Seems like Chris Olave has a role no matter who the quarterback is, right? It's maybe a little different with Jameis Winston than it is with Andy Dalton, who played reasonably well and seems like he would against Seattle. Like Dubs, going to play Dubs. Probably going to sit Gabe Davis. Look, I feel like I'm anti-Gabe Davis, and I'm not, right? But I feel like we all overdrafted him a little bit. And by we all, I mean you all, because I didn't. But I thought like that last game, we remember the last thing we see, right? And I do have some shares, so that's like disingenuous of me to say that. But I will say, I feel like there's a lot of mouths to feed. Now there are fewer mouths this week, and it's not a horrible matchup against the Steelers. They got some defensive back issues. I don't know why I'm so eager to play Dubs. So it's Olave and Pittman for sure. And then the decision is between Davis and Dubs. I'm leaning Dubs right now. But wait a little bit. Davis practiced fully today. If he's fully healthy and you want a piece of that offense against the Steelers, I'm fine with it. Hey, best adult dating site. Happy to see you're here. Kind of you to come. Vision, or something along those lines. That looks like a 1. I don't know how to say that in a word. Zwanzion. I have Hollywood Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Breece Hall, and the wide receiver all starting. Bench has Romeo, Dubs, and Michael Thomas. All but Romeo are questionable. What do I do? I like the guys you're playing right now, and maybe injuries will sort it out for you. We'll see if Amon-Ra St. Brown plays. I'm not sure I understand the question. Mr. Scampers, what spice level would it be to start Taysom Hill over Kittle? What's the panic level for Kittle in Dynasty since it's realistic you're starting the likes of Higbee and Everett over him in redraft? Look, I don't know that it's like panic, but I think we should be adjusting our expectations. Maybe we have a little more hope with Jimmy Garoppolo back. I want to say, that near touchdown last week offered me some encouragement. But it's fairly spicy, I think, right? Because Taysom Hill's role is a little bit, I don't know. I want to say, a little hit or miss, but I mean, he gives you those extra pieces, right? You get those little bits that are, the direct snaps, the runs, the goal line packages, and you're not getting that with Kittle necessarily. I always say the issue with Kittle is he's too good, right? He's such a good blocker and everything, that uh, it's spicy, not crazy. An overall level of panic for Kittle and Dynasty. Not panicking, but I'm rearranging my expectations. You know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to bring in my colleague, Mr. Eric Romoff, to join me right now. You catch him on the DFS lineup show every Saturday night with Jamie Calandro. You can find him at Fantasy Nav on the Twitter, at Pros with Joes. He runs that whole affair. I love doing that, even when I'm getting my butt beat. And at Get Green Screens. Check that out, contributor at Football Diehards at Dr. Roto. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm actually fresh off of a live stream over 4 green screens. We're talking a little Purdue basketball. So now I get to shift gears and get back into football time.
Who talks about basketball? That's
we
horrifying.
Do.
So just had a question from Mr. Scampers here. I thought was interesting. Taysom Hill, spice level check. Taysom Hill versus George Kittle. Spicy to play Taysom Hill over George Kittle. Too spicy for you?
Everybody's favorite chat cat, Mr. Scampers. That is far too spicy for me. And I'm in from San Antonio. I love spice. But we're talking about a guy in Taysom Hill that is seeing a fraction of his team's total snaps. Yes, he'll mess around and end up in the end zone every now and again, but you're playing a guessing game as to which week that is, and you're going to end up on the wrong side of that game more often than not.
So I feel like, it is. I wanted to make a good excuse for George Kittle. Like, he almost had a touchdown. I think you can say that about a lot of tight ends, though. Oh, he almost had a touchdown. He was almost great that game. But Kittle does have some past history. I don't know, Scampers. Maybe Eric has talked us off the ledge. Scott Kobe, Eric wants to know CEH versus Raiders or Devin Singletary versus Steelers in a PPR. This is an easy one for me. How about you?
For me, I'm actually going to go with Devin Singletary. This is a guy that's getting near workhorse workload over the last couple of games. And I expect that to be a trend to continue. And the PPR piece is a big part of this, right? He's catching a lot of balls out of that backfield. So CEH is splitting time at best. He's going to regress to the mean in terms of how frequently he's seeing the end zone relative to how often he's touching the ball. So I'll go with the volume and lean towards Singletary.
I'm going to continue playing CEH at least one more week, but your points are totally valid. And I think if you go and check out at Football Diehards, we have the snap share percentages. He's getting to work in the red zone, getting work inside the goal line. I still worry a little bit that, Josh Allen's the best goal line back on that team, but still, you're correct about Singletary and the workload. Steve Linder, streaming defenses. Titans defense versus the Commanders. Vikings defense versus the Bears. Dolphins D versus the Jets. Let me start this out for you by saying I would love to attack Justin Fields, but Justin Fields is unattackable because he doesn't throw the ball enough. There's not enough work to do. I'm probably going against Carson Wentz in this one, even if I don't like the Titans defense that much. You can make a good argument for the Dolphins, but they're a little beat up too. Eric, which way do you like?
That is exactly the way that I'm going, and for those exact reasons. When you're streaming a defense, which kudos to you, that is the correct choice for you to make in your life. You're usually looking for turnovers and scoring opportunities, and while the Chicago Bears are not scoring very many points, they're also not throwing the ball enough. There's not enough dropbacks. There's not enough opportunities to get a sack, to get an interception, whereas the Commanders are essentially letting people just walk straight through their offensive line and into Carson Wentz's lap. So I'll agree with you and go with the Commanders there.
We have a trade question, Eric. And by the way, did I mention Eric has a great show on Saturday nights on the Football Diehards YouTube channel? If you didn't hear me, I said that, and I meant it because he and Jamie do great work on the DFS front. You should check it out. It's on for like an hour. It's fantastic. Jacob Lucier would like to know, would you trade Keenan, that's Keenan Allen, for Jerry Jeudy and DK Metcalf, or Keenan Allen for Brandon Cooks, and he has Gabriel Davis? I believe I parsed that sentence correctly.
I would certainly trade Keenan Allen for Jerry Jeudy and DK Metcalf, if I heard that correctly. For me, not necessarily interested in that Keenan Allen for Brandon Cooks swap. I mean, you're essentially getting two players that profile in a very, very similar way. So it's just one of those kind of
One of
personal
them has a way
preference.
better quarterback.
Fair. Yeah, completely fair. And that seems to be the one that would be heading out. So not trying to be on that side of the arrangement. But if you can get a player that is at least in the same tier as Keenan Allen for me and DK Metcalf and get some solid depth in Jerry Jeudy, I'm happy to make that deal if I'm in those
Eric
shoes.
Roma delivering the correct answers, everybody. I know you meant James Conner, Scotty boy. I knew you meant Scott. Okay, Pedro, I'm excited with Brian Robinson coming back. Can you see this guy ultimately clocking in and running back 2 numbers? Highlight reel out of college is awesome. Look, I think the Commanders kind of foreshadowed this. We all heard he was going to be slated to be the starter. And let's give it a little time and wait and see. But I talked about this earlier, Eric, and I don't know how you feel, but there's something to be said for playing the waiver wire a week or 2 early, right? If you're out there looking for players, if you have room on your roster, you should have already had Brian Robinson on it. In case this was coming, you knew he was going to be activated about a week ago. We started hearing that. Jamison Williams is another guy on my list of players you probably want to have on your list of guys. I want a piece of that before everyone else gets onto it. He's maybe 3 weeks away, sounds like, or more. So I think you're on board with all that, Eric.
I am absolutely on board with all that. Specifically, your point about being a week early, right? Everyone now has Brian Robinson on their radar. So if he's on your wire and you have to go out and acquire him, it's going to cost you a bit more fab. It's going to cost you a higher waiver priority. But I do tend to think that he's in a good position to be near or even above RB2 numbers once he gets into this offense and gets acclimated, right? Right now, RB number 24 on points per game is 12 points. So, if he steps in and he relegates Antonio Gibson back to special teams and kickoff coverage, then there's very much so a path for him to be in that double-digit point range, a few weeks after he gets back on the field.
Hell yeah. Remy needs one running back in his second league. Melvin Gordon, Tony Pollard, Darrell Henderson, Kareem Hunt. I think this is an easy one for me, but I'll let you take it, Eric.
Oh, this one's so tricky for me, specifically with regard to Melvin Gordon. I'll probably err on the side of Kareem Hunt. I just love his work out of the backfield. Melvin Gordon should be in line to be the primary ball carrier in Denver, but ultimately I would kind of want to wait and see that one come to pass and see how Denver deploys their running backs for a week before I'm starting, quality, or rather before I'm sitting quality options in his place.
That's a fair point. I'm probably starting Melvin Gordon and taking my chances there just because we're still a little hollowed out on that Indy offense. Shaq Leonard not going to play again this week, has a concussion this time. Some issues in the middle of that defensive line. I'll go ahead and play that. But I feel really uncomfortable, and I said it earlier in this broadcast. If you didn't hear it, I will say it again. Oh, look at Andy Isabella signing with the Ravens practice squad. Good for him. So I said this earlier, and I'll say it again. So if at the end of this game, Thursday night, Latavius Murray is the leading rusher for the Denver Broncos, I will be only about 3% surprised. Right? I mean, it's not my expectation. I expect Gordon to be the guy, but if he has a fumble and lays it down, I think anything's possible, including Mike Boone being the guy as well. So none of these things would surprise me. I like this question a lot, Eric. Dwayne Swanger wants to know. He can only keep one, Dubs or Lazard. Who is WR1 in Green Bay?
Aaron Jones is WR1 in Green Bay. Of the two, I would probably lean towards Romeo Doubs. There's a bit of an unknown there, and that unknown has upside potential on its range of outcomes, right? I think we've largely seen what Allen Lazard can and will be. So steady contributor, certainly not a bad piece to have on your roster. But if things continue on the trajectory that they've been going over the last couple of weeks, Dobbs could be a real difference maker for you in your lineup.
That's a fact. My friends at 32-Bit in the house. You can catch me on jumping on their Twitter space on the regular. I always enjoy that. I think Mondays and Thursdays are our day. Watch my Twitter feed. Penny versus Scott. If you have time, if you were drafting tonight, who are your top 5 in a PPR redraft league? You want to tackle that one, Eric? Or you want to? I mean, Cooper Kupp
If
is
I'm
first pick
redrafting
overall,
tonight, who are,
right? If we're redrafting top five in
Cooper Kupp
PPR,
is
Cooper Kupp's first pick overall, right?
yeah, absolutely. Saquon Barkley is probably coming off the board at 2. Jonathan Taylor, I think, still should be in the top 5. Stephon Diggs
McCaffrey for me as well.
coming up. Yeah, I just don't want anything to do with this Carolina Panthers offense, but the
He
reality
is the
is
only
he's
thing I
still the
want to
focal
have to do
point.
with it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm with you.
those sound like a good 5 to me.
Right. I think that's fair. Look, you could make arguments for Austin Eckler as well. I mean, he's starting to come, after last week, it was really good. Derrick Henry is coming on pretty hard. So probably, and by the way, he is the best receiver in Tennessee with his 25% target shares.
All of a sudden.
The 32 big guys want to know Penny versus New Orleans or Dillon versus Giants or Deion Jackson versus Denver. Not going to outsmart myself. It might end up being Phillip Lindsay against Denver. I'm probably playing I want to play Penny really bad. We just got the news a little while ago in case you weren't here for it. Penny is on the injury report, didn't practice today with a shoulder injury. It's a little concerning, but, it's early in the week. He just had a huge game, so I'm not going to put too much into this today, see what's happening tomorrow and Friday before I decide. But I don't like the matchup as much as I like Dillon versus the Giants, but I do like the workload for Penny. So this one's going to be close. If Penny's healthy, I'm probably playing him.
That's the way that I'm going as well. You can certainly sit your option there for tomorrow's game because you do have AJ Dillon in your back pocket. But watch that injury report. As long as he's progressing, he's maintaining either the same status level into practice tomorrow and Friday, or preferably progressing, going from limited to full. He should be good to go. But if he's not, Dillon is certainly a fine consolation prize.
Mr. Scampers, Andy Isabella signing with Ravens. It worries him for Bateman, and he's just getting Who was Andy Isabella drafted ahead of? DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin. There was a whole bunch. Deontay Johnson. There were a whole bunch of guys he was drafted ahead of. I blame Cliff Kingsbury
that entire
for
class
a lot of things, but nothing more than that.
Insane.
Hey, look at Eric in the chat, best adulting chat site, date site. He was there, and they would like us to date somebody. Probably my fiance will not be happy with that. So a couple other questions. We're going to have to wrap it up here, everybody. So not going to get to all your questions. I will be back Saturday at noon p.m. Eastern time. That's the middle of the day. And then I'll be here for an hour answering all your questions. Eric and Jamie will be here talking DFS lineups, covering all the games, checking ownership percentages, all the things you need to do to have great success in your daily fantasy sports lineups, football in particular. Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Check that out as well. So be sure to be there for that. But there's a couple of these things that I find interesting here and I wanted to get to before we go. And there was one that I just lost track of. It was a trade question that I found appealing, and I may have lost it. Oh, here it is. Nick Perone trying to package 2 for A.J. Brown. What's realistic best for me? DJ Moore, Corey Davis, Tyler Lockett, and Alan Lazard. I don't know if you got any of those 2 are going to get you A.J. Brown.
I don't think so either.
I think it might take more. And it might be hard to get A.J. Brown away. And especially if his weakness, your strength is wide receiver here. You think that depth is your strength. His strength is wide receiver as well. You need to be able to help him out with a weakness, and I don't know that you're going to do that. So, Eric, I'm going to let you go now since the time is up, and I'm going to get out of here. I might try to answer a few more real quick, but I don't want to keep you past your bedtime because I know it's very late. No, it's not. It's not your bedtime yet. But anyhow, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. Everybody check out the DFS lineup show. Jamie, Eric, follow Eric on Twitter at FantasyNav. Check out all his great stuff, including the Pros with Joe's League, where I'm getting destroyed right now. Had a string of bad luck, and my Jonathan Taylor share is not helping me greatly. Eric, thank you.
Bob, thanks for having me on. And this is where things start turning around for you and Pros with Joe's.
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure me and Rocco are on top of this. All right, everybody. Let me get a couple more questions real quick. Van Jefferson Mr. Scampers making an excellent point there on Van Jefferson coming in. I think that is very wise. Look, Allen Robinson's not getting it done. I don't think Ben Skowronek is. I think we got Allen Robinson battling Tutu Atwell for the 5th receiving spot at some point. I'm just kidding, but that's the point. Mostert, I'm not interested, Pedro, in playing a running back from the Miami Dolphins against the Jets. But I do think if I was, Mostert seems to be gaining a little ground, especially in the carries. With Taylor out, your thoughts on Hines' production this week? Yes, he can be a running back too, but this is not a great matchup in general. Denver defense is tough, and the offense for the Colts has not been playing well overall. The Panthers make his eyes rain. I'm with you. Half-point PPR, Samuel versus Tennessee or Penny versus Seattle, New Orleans. Why would you do that to me, Steve L? You know I love both these players immensely. Penny's beat up. Wait and see. Probably playing Penny as long as he's healthy. Steve Linder needs 2 out of Schultz, Josh Reynolds, and Wan'Dale Robinson. Baller playing this week if St. Brown sits again. I'd probably go in that order. I'm hoping Schultz picks it up a little bit. I don't know if Robinson's going to play. I think Reynolds will, but he's beat up as well. Thank you, Mr. Scampers, for coming. Thank you, Pedro, for coming. Thank you, Dave, for coming. Appreciate you all very much. Best 2 for getting that would be Lockett and Lazard, but I don't think it gets it done either. Thank you, Scott, for coming. I appreciate it. Take care, everybody. I will see you Saturday, noon Eastern time, right here. Eric will see you along with Jamie Calandro on Saturday night, 9 p.m. You can tune in every weeknight, not every weeknight, Monday night 10, Thursday night 10, Friday night 10, Saturday night 8, Sunday 11 to 1, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. You can catch us on NFL Radio Saturday night too, but it's simulcast, so pick your poison. I'm Bob Harris, Football Diehards. It's a website. Go there.